and making it very clear, this isn't about abolishing the military. Obviously, you need a military. It's about not having a military empire. It's about not having an empire that subjugates the planet at the barrel of a nuclear armed gun under the boot of US imperialism, enforcing global capitalism, enforcing a fossil fuel infrastructure that's paralyzing the planet and preventing any sort of substantive change. And so to spread that consciousness and to root that foundational understanding is paramount. First and foremost, we're the most propagandized society on earth. So the reverence of the military is such a problem because that it's part and parcel with Hollywood, with entertainment, with just the entire media apparatus exists as an extension of the system. It's an appendage of the state, and its propaganda is wielded to enforce and have a bipartisan consensus for empire, and that's where we need to strike.
So this is like stemming from Abby Martin's Earth's Greatest Enemy documentary. I kind of dug a little deeper after I watched that documentary at one of the community colleges around here, where she did a Q&A after. But entertainment and the military institutions operate in a mutual exchange system. Communication scholar Tanner Mirlees documents over 2,500 productions made with Pentagon involvement, which shows how normalized this relationship is. Access drives alignment. When productions rely on military equipment, locations, and technical support, the story tends to move in a direction that keeps the Hollywood DoD relationship intact. He describes it as a part of a broader DoD Hollywood complex. It affects the narrative mechanics and is essentially propaganda. Mainstream war stories consistently center on heroism, sacrifice, camaraderie, spectacle. That pattern shows up in films like Top Gun, American Sniper, a long-running series, NCIS, all of which are commonly cited examples of military-supported media. The emotional focus stays close to the soldier's experience, which builds around identification and keeps the story grounded at a human level. But what gets minimized is the longer-term consequences of war tend to sit outside of these narratives. Research cited in the militarization of movies and television notes how civilian harm and environmental damage are often downplayed or omitted most of the time. Topics like burn pits, Agent Orange, delayed veteran illnesses, they show up more often in documentaries and investigative reporting than in large-scale entertainment. The gap is part of why films like Earth's Greatest Enemy feel structurally different. It's holding attention on the aftermath rather than the action. It's a huge psychological impact, and the mechanism behind it isn't new. It's during World War II, Elmer Davis, head of the Office of War Information, described this directly. Ideas are more easily absorbed when they move through entertainment. Storytelling lowers resistance. Repetition across films, shows, and games builds familiarity with a specific version of military reality. That familiarity can translate into real-world behavior. The Top Gun is frequently linked to increased Navy recruitment, with recruiters even showing up to theaters. This operates through incentives more than directives. Studios gain access to and scale, and institutions gain narrative consistency, propaganda. The result is a stable feedback loop. Stories shape perception. Perception reinforces legitimacy. Legitimacy sustains access. Mirlees, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, frames this as a long-standing collaboration between cultural production and military objectives rather than a hidden or occasional influence. Also, media scholar Roger Stahl uses the term militainment to describe how entertainment and military systems overlap, especially in gaming. Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, they draw directly from real conflicts, while also influencing how these conflicts are understood. There's also reverse influence, including reporting from Jacobin. They point out how drone interfaces and military tech have adopted these visual and functional elements from video games. It lands differently when media is a part of how you relate to people, watching movies, discussing them, building meaning from them. That's a personal thing. Awareness of institutional influence introduces attention into that experience without removing the attachment to it. Media literacy becomes less about rejecting content and more about understanding how it's shaped. The system doesn't require constant intentional messaging from every creator involved. Large-scale storytelling depends on access, logistics, and funding. Those constraints shape outcomes even when the goal is simply to make a compelling movie or show or whatever. So once the relationship between storytelling and institutional power becomes visible, it changes how these narratives register going forward.